I think the creator of this anime hates children, and I feel that, but this wasn't the way. Let me know in the comments if you knew which anime I was talking about just by the thumbnail. If you do, you have my pity, because this anime was an absolute dumpster fire. Rampokitan, Game of Laplace. Probably the worst anime I've ever seen. Okay, that's not true. Since back in my day, we had to dig through the dumpster for anime and take whatever scraps they gave us. It's so easy now, but they're still putting crap on my screen. So no, it's not the worst anime I've ever seen, but it did put the fear of God back in me. Like, remember that Moses movie where God started killing people's firstborns because they wouldn't let his people go? Yeah, I think this anime came out because I stopped going to church. I've learned my lesson. Okay, just a warning, I'm gonna be spoiling this entire show, and I don't care. Actually, this should be counted towards my community service hours. Okay, so it starts off with the opening, which, if I'm being honest, has some pretty good shots. Though it does seem to border on the line of edgy or kinky. I'm not sure. But the actual anime starts off with the boy named Kobayashi. He wakes up in his classroom and finds his teacher cut up and put together into a chair, and he's holding the murder weapon. Typical Friday night, right? We meet some detectives, like this guy, that guy, maybe that's a guy too. Oh, there we go. Kobayashi's friend somehow was able to get past security and be allowed onto the crime scene. And this detective, who's no longer in a straitjacket, but I presume misses the sensation. And then here comes that trope we all love, the 17-year-old detective who must be a genius, right? We'll hold on to that one for a bit. The cops hold Kobayashi for a bit, and even though he was the prime suspect, at least one cop is like, okay, there's no way this middle school kid murdered his teacher, chopped him up, maybe went back home to take a shower because he wasn't covered in blood, and then came back to school and then took a nap with the murder weapon. Wow, these are the smartest cops ever. Anyway, they clean up the dead body and the students are just back in the same classroom the next day. I used to get mad when school wasn't canceled after a foot of snow, so needless to say, I would have been rioting. Kobayashi stalks the genius detective and then asks to be his apprentice. And then the cops come back and they're like, psych! We actually are gonna arrest you because we found out the murdered teacher chair was making his own chairs out of murdered women. And we didn't believe that you could kill one person, but we do believe that you could kill multiple. Did I say these cops were smart? Anyway, the friend's freaking out, but Kobayashi's like, wow, can I have one of those chairs? This kid does not care. Maybe he did kill his teacher. So that's where the first episode ends, and I was kind of into it. The music was good. I like to see where artists were slumming it out before they made it big. It looked like it was going to be a cool, dark murder mystery. There's secret organizations, drugs that you crush up but don't snort. It had some good voice actors, and it was probably also a yaoi. There was a lot going for it. But turns out this wasn't the only trap that they laid out in the show. Satan's been pulling the same trick since Adam and Eve, tempting people to do bad things, and then by the end of the show, there's nothing left for you but hell. They let their teachers wear cat ears to school, turned their autopsy into a little Japanese reality show. The little play reenactment of the crime was a cute idea, but why are they just believing everything this murder suspect is saying? And why is there a student at the interrogation? But you know what? I could have looked past all of this. You see a lot of nonsense in anime and it just conditions you to accept it. The problem I had was with how this mystery ended. Oh, I get it. The teacher's girlfriends all wanted to be turned into chairs, and his killer was one of his girlfriends that was sad that he wouldn't turn her into one. So it's just a cute love story. Forget the fact that he's dating and murdering his middle school students, and somehow no one's caught on. Or how it didn't initially make any sense for this little boy to kill and dismember the teacher, but it makes more sense that this little girl did. But maybe this was their plan. Once you suspend disbelief to the point that they want you to, it'd be hard to find any faults with the show because you won't even be able to read anymore. Ugh. By this point, it was no longer possible for me to take the show seriously anymore. So let's just go into a speed round. So we go from one pedophile to another pedophile. But no, this guy doesn't harm girls. He just likes to sit at a park all day and watch them. That's how we found this guy that does harm girls, by crushing them up and making them into wall art. Then there was this killer that kills other killers, including a few kids, of course. They had this BDSM Hannibal Lecter doing some kink play in front of children. What the hell am I watching? How does a killer let someone sneak up on them like this? And why did he try to fight if he was just gonna pull out a gun? This episode was entirely a flashback. Imagine that. And while we're in the middle of this crime thriller that's only 11 episodes, why not throw in a slapstick filler episode to reduce the tension a little bit? Now, up until this point, the genius detective, Akechi, has done no work. He just sits in his room crushing Tic Tacs while the kids do all the detective work. And don't even get me started on the other detectives. I'm getting Ace Attorney flashbacks just watching them. But the kids have school now, so Akechi actually has to do his job. Let's see what he does. Oh, he just took them out of school. Where are their parents? Oh my gosh, another flashback? Also, just as a side note, this show is super gay. Not that I mind or anything, but it's less typical yaoi and more G-rated Boku no Pico. Now get this genius idea. This lady tries to kill a room full of people, but our boy genius Takashi is able to predict it. So apparently he and the entire police force in Shinjuku go to stop her. But this was all part of her plan to draw the police force to her, while her accomplice does something. Didn't do anything, actually. But Akaji's like, oh no, and starts running to where the accomplice is. I assume he's not allowed to use the police car, so he had to go on foot. And then there's the accomplice. It's still standing there. Would be a great time to arrest him, right? Well, somehow, Akaji managed to run here before any of the police got there. But what do I know? Maybe they also sabotaged all the police cars. Maybe the whole police force thought they needed to be there to arrest this one woman. Maybe I'm just too smooth-brained to understand the 4D chess moves happening on my screen. 2 more episodes. How do you fit 3 flashback episodes into an 11-episode anime? Anyway, we find out the culprit is math. I'm not kidding. Some formula that this other genius kid made is making people kill each other. And I thought, finally some realism here. Because I'm sure we all know people who see math and then want to kill something afterwards. I only had a math minor in college, so I assume this whole plot only makes sense to a math major. Let me know. So the bad guy ends up being able to convince Kobayashi to flip pretty easily. And I wanted to be surprised, but he's the one that sat in the people chair in the beginning of the show. There was something wrong with this character the whole time. So let me get this straight. We're finally getting to the climax of the show, and you have the pedophile save the day? Of all the characters? Now the formula is making kids jump off a roof. I think the creator of this anime hates children. And I feel that, but this wasn't the way. Okay, let's just wrap this up. You know how all of this ends? It doesn't. This guy made a formula that caused vigilante killings, then he jumped off a roof, and people are still killing each other. That's it. That's the end. While I will admit this anime did have some clever shots and cool designs, it does not make up for the crap fest of a plot. This show was supposed to be inspired by Edogawa Rampo, the author, but on the Wikipedia page, they had the nerve to say it was created by him. Oh my gosh, can you let the man rest in peace without pinning war crimes on him? Look, my whole point is, I've seen lobotomies twice in my life. In anime. And it never seemed especially comfortable. At least not before I watched this anime. I have some chopsticks, man. Let's get it done. But if you don't believe me, feel free to watch it yourself. I'm pretty sure you can watch the whole thing on Crunchyroll. Oh, wait. I thought this was where I watched it. Oh, well, Funimation has it, so you can try that. Never mind. Don't watch it.